Death for Russian cabs is already in the sky. What Russian pilots feared most is starting to become reality. Ukraine may receive a weapon that will literally break the entire aviation tactics of the Russian army. The Meteor missile, this is not just another missile. It is a high-tech hunter from which it is almost impossible to escape. It doesn't lose speed, doesn't run out of steam in flight, and chases targets right up to impact at speeds over 4,900 kilometers per hour. For Russian Su-34s, this sounds like a death sentence. Now their scheme of terror with glide bombs could simply fall apart in midair, or they could drop bombs anywhere and flee, or enter a zone where the Meteor turns the aircraft into a target. And most importantly, even the mere appearance of a Gripen with these missiles could push Russian aviation back. So far back that glide bombs simply won't be able to reach Ukrainian cities and positions. And now, officially, the armed forces of Ukraine continue to press in the south. Russian troops are being pushed back from Zaporizhzhia. A dozen settlements have already been liberated. Ukrainian forces continue to push forward and regain control over territories. Ours are liberating the road to the Azov coast. The fronts are shifting in Ukraine's favor. Will this be the beginning of a new collapse of Russian plans? All the details in just a moment. Don't miss it. Greetings from Ukraine today. Renata Aslanova and the latest events. Ukrainian soldiers continue to disrupt the occupiers' plans on the southern front. While Russia tries to exert pressure in several directions at once, the armed forces of Ukraine are carrying out successful operations and regaining control over territories. Military observer Vasil Pekno, in a comment to Channel 24, reported on important successes of the Ukrainian army in the Zaporizhzhia region, and also advances in 3 regions at once: Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Dnipropetrovsk. According to him, the defense forces have already pushed the Russians back from Stepnohirsk. Before this, Ukrainian fighters had successful actions in Primorske and Lukyanivske. The occupiers tried to break through as close as possible to Zaporizhzhia, but received a powerful response from the armed forces of Ukraine.
The Russians were pushed back from Stepnohirsk. Before this, successes were achieved in the settlements of Primorske and Lukyanivske. The enemy was pushed back in the areas where they tried to break through as close as possible to Zaporizhzhia. This operation is ongoing.
But that's not all. As a result of the Oleksandrivka operation, Ukrainian forces managed to liberate 11 settlements. Although in some areas the occupiers are now trying to launch counterattacks, Ukrainian forces continue to press forward and consolidate their gains. According to the analyst, extremely important developments are currently taking place in the south, which cannot yet be discussed publicly.
There are also a number of directions and processes that cannot be discussed publicly. Where are the actual combat operations taking place to push out or clear the positions we previously lost?
The expert advises paying particular attention to the geography of the southern front. There are rivers, natural barriers, and difficult terrain there which could now work to Ukraine's advantage. The armed forces of Ukraine are trying to build a new, more resilient defense line specifically along the river barriers. And this could become the key to stabilizing the front.
If we can now establish containment areas for the enemy along certain river lines in the south, then we can say that we will be able to roughly straighten the front line there. Moreover,
this will allow some Ukrainian units to be freed up and redeployed to the most difficult directions: Siversky, Dobropilsky, Lymansky, and Kostiantynivsky. And although it is still too early to talk about a large-scale Russian retreat, Ukrainian forces are already showing results that could seriously change the situation on the southern front. And it seems that very soon Ukraine may hear even more good news from the front lines. Meanwhile, Gripens for Ukraine are already on the horizon. The first Swedish fighter jets could arrive in less than a year. Ukrainian pilots have already begun their training. Meanwhile, Sweden has announced a record aid package worth over $2.5 billion. What is behind these agreements, and when could modern fighter jets strengthen Ukrainian skies? We'll tell you more next.
Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson announced the transfer to Ukraine of 16 Gripen fighter jets that have already been in use, and about plans to sell 20 units of the new model of this aircraft. He said this at a press conference with Volodymyr Zelensky, who had arrived in Sweden the day before.
This is an important step in the long-term strengthening of Ukraine's air defense. Ukraine has clearly identified the aircraft, the Gripen, as the priority option for its air force in the long term, and intends to acquire the newest version, the Gripen E. Negotiations are ongoing, and we will be able to deliver these aircraft by 2030.
In October of last year, Swedish and Ukrainian high-ranking officials signed a letter of intent to sell Ukraine a total of 100 to 150 of the latest Gripen E-series aircraft. And just the day before this, Sweden officially announced the largest bilateral military aid package in its entire history. Its total value is approximately $2.7 billion, of which $2 billion will go directly towards advanced aircraft, and nearly 400 million more will be specifically allocated for drone production. This is
truly a historic event, a historic day for our cooperation, for our countries. Today there is a new support package from Sweden. This support provides us with a new level of safeguarding the lives of our people, in defending our cities and in effectively protecting our communities.
16 used aircraft. Sweden plans to transfer the Gripen aircraft at the beginning of 2027 after Ukraine signs an agreement to purchase new fighter jets. And Stockholm will obtain the necessary export permits. Sweden has committed to provide support for aircraft maintenance and pilot training.
We are well aware of exactly what Russia thinks about countries that provide assistance to Ukraine, as well as about countries that are fighting the Shadow Fleet in the Baltic Sea and other regions. We are very well prepared for various Russian reactions, hybrid threats, and other such things. So our support for Ukraine will continue.
The addition of Swedish fighter jets, which will definitely bolster the capabilities of our air fleet and our air defense. We expect to receive the first capabilities to get the first Gripens within the next 10 months. It is vital and important that these are aircraft equipped with a comprehensive and effective suite of modern weaponry. This will also greatly help our defense against the threat of Russian-guided aerial bombs.
Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized that the occupiers launch thousands of guided aerial bombs at frontline territories every month. And Ukraine has never possessed enough advanced air defense systems to counter this.
These Gripen fighter jets come with very specific armaments, including Meteor missiles and others, which can strike targets over 200 kilometers away. We believe that we will be able to push out Russian aircraft, and they will no longer be able to use guided aerial bombs on a massive scale.
The Meteor, which Zelensky mentioned, is a modern European long-range air-to-air guided missile that travels at speeds of over 4,000 kilometers per hour. It is designed to target both jet aircraft and smaller targets, including Shaheds and cruise missiles, under conditions of electronic warfare at distances of over 200 kilometers.
Russia continues to rely on missiles and killing people at the front. This is much more than on diplomacy, and this situation needs to be corrected. The key to this is to continue providing robust support for Ukrainian air defense. The most important element today is reliable protection against Russian ballistic missiles and other types of advanced missiles.
Ukraine has previously received dozens of American F-16 fighter jets and several French Mirage 2000s, but the Gripen is considered more suitable for current needs. These aircraft can land and take off from standard public roadways, and they are also highly versatile in operation. Furthermore, they require significantly less maintenance than their American counterparts. They can also be rapidly refueled and rearmed for another combat sortie. These multi-role fighters are capable of effectively neutralizing not only aerial targets, but also supply depots, logistics hubs, armored vehicles, and enemy artillery. Alexander Muzhichuk, Vikna STB Program, United News.
Our military continues to relentlessly destroy the enemy. A powerful strike on Russian oil infrastructure. Over 60% of the tank farm at the Tuapse oil refinery has been destroyed. How will this impact Russia's fuel logistics, and what consequences will it have for the front? We break it down next.
The economy of the oil state is bleeding fuel oil. The past few weeks have been disastrous for Russian oil refining. Ukrainian long-range drones didn't just hit more storage tanks. The drones have paralyzed key export and logistics hubs of the occupiers. From Samara to the shores of the Black Sea, the sky was filled with smoke, and in Tuapse, there was a real oil rain. 3 damaged oil refineries have halted their operations. Tuapse, Novokuibishevsk, Syzran. These enterprises are critically important for the export of finished oil products from the Russian Federation.
If you take the time to add up the total oil refining capacity of all these different plants, the final sum amounts to approximately 1 to 1.5 million barrels per day, which represents a very significant portion of the total output.
Taking into account that Russia processes approximately 4.5 to 5 million barrels of oil per day, the shutdown of these three plants has reduced its capacity by at least a third.
This is the so-called fuel oil crust. This is a highly significant and fascinating observation. When strategic strikes hit the Tuapse or Novorossiysk ports, which makes it completely and utterly impossible to ship out fuel oil, it directly results in the critical situation where the refineries themselves are forced to cease their operations entirely.
Experts say calculating the exact financial losses is difficult. Still, estimated losses of tens of millions of dollars per day are being mentioned.
According to various reports, specifically Russian media, these losses are estimated to be about $100 million. This is also an incredibly substantial financial blow to the budgets of these companies. And let's say it is quite alarming.
In order to further drain Russia's oil processing wallet and thus reduce its ability to finance the war, experts advise the following.
We must sink the tankers. Only a continuous sequence of strikes without ever stopping them will eventually lead to significant disruptions in logistics and therefore in the supply of essential fuel and lubricants, both for the army and military forces, and for the export of the Russian Federation as well. We must always simultaneously employ the diplomatic track as well. That is, this means sanction pressure both on Russia itself and on its partners.
As a result of Ukrainian attacks in April, Russia reduced its oil production by 300,000 to 400,000 barrels per day. This is the largest drop since the pandemic. COVID. Victoria Yarishko, We Are Ukraine, Marathon United News.
Under constant drone attacks and at the edge of what's possible, how the repair crews of the 79th Brigade bring Stryker armored vehicles back into service after combat damage. A job where every restored vehicle is another chance for the crew to survive and complete their mission. See in the following report how a Frontline repair workshop operates, where equipment is literally rebuilt under fire.
On the way to the positions, this Stryker was caught by a swarm of enemy drones, tried to stop the vehicle and reach the defenders.
The opposing forces strategically target the vehicle's main engine system in order to completely immobilize the vehicle, effectively preventing our troops from safely abandoning the damaged craft and ultimately cause us significantly greater losses. They don't aim with just one. They use FPV drones, but they often send several of them at once. That is, at this point, since we still have extra layers of defensive armor, as we ourselves reinforce this protection, they try to break through the first layer with one FPV drone, then with a second and a third, repeatedly targeting the exact same spot.
Thanks to the dense welding, the vehicle withstood the attack, but before the next deployment, it will need repairs.
Immediately after this powerful hit, the aircraft's fuselage slightly damaged the sensitive electrical equipment within the system. We have an electrician who went over everything, replaced a few sensors. We reassembled everything, carefully inspected it all, and there are no errors to be found.
A final check is ahead, and the vehicle is now prepared to head out again.
At this point right now, we'll also take it out for a quick test drive. Go ahead and start the system up to run it and make sure it's functioning exactly as intended, ensuring that it won't have any unexpected issues with its various functions. Because, so to speak, this is imported from overseas, that is high-end European equipment. It's significantly more modern and advanced than our current models. There is a lot of complex technology involved here. Electronics. We've done everything, replaced what was needed. Today we will be testing it in Taserif. We'll prepare everything and deliver it directly to our units so they can successfully execute their combat missions.
Equipment comes to the specialists of the repair company every day, says Deputy Company Commander Volodymyr Kuzmenko.
On a daily basis, a vehicle goes out with some unit and sustains significant damage. Specialists. Primarily, these are the specialists. Suffer a direct hit in the main engine system or in critical components that can cause it to come to a complete and total stop. That is, the first thing they do is stop the vehicle, then they try to finish it off, destroy it, and prevent us from evacuating it from this area.
But the paratroopers still manage to evacuate the armored vehicles, and then the specialists from the repair company get to work.
All our guys are ordinary people. The majority are mobilized individuals. When new recruits arrive, we try to select individuals who have practical experience working with machinery. So our unit is quite diverse, not only focused on repairs, but mainly we try to choose people with significant prior experience. Well, and then we train them ourselves. There are plenty of people we manage. We also send people abroad for training.
The unit performs a range of tasks that allow vehicles to be quickly returned to service, says its commander Yuri Kravets.
We specialize in performing comprehensive repair work on the meticulous fixing and replacement of components and assemblies, minor malfunctions, repairs to the chassis, and the replacement of units, such as the engine, gearbox, and smaller assemblies up to 4 units. Any work beyond these specific tasks is already considered major repairs, which are then sent directly to the factory.
Because most of the equipment, the supply of spare parts from abroad affects the repair time, says Yuri.
That really depends on the particular extent and severity of the damage. On average, it is typically estimated to be around 5 days. The longest processes are the diagnostics, while the spare parts are gathered and delivered to us. This is the delivery of spare parts.
In addition to direct repairs, specialists from the repair company of the 79th Brigade retrofit combat vehicles with additional armor. What protects paratroopers on the battlefield every day. Alexander Volkov, Alexander Musinov, especially for FX, ICE TV, the only news.
How do you feel about such events? Write your opinion in the comments. Hit the like button under the video and stay up to date with the main news. More to come.